Hello, everybody. A very warm good morning, good afternoon, and a great evening to all of you. Thank you so much, Trailblazers, for tuning in to the Pardot Consultant Bootcamp. It's a 7 days bootcamp, and yes, here we are on day 4. I, Isha Garg, and Payal are standing in front of you on behalf of Pardot New Delhi and Pardot Ajmer Group. With that note, I set up the stage for Morgan. Welcome, Morgan. Thank you so much for being here, and the stage is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Isha. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, hello guys, and welcome to day 4 of the Pardot Bootcamp. Very excited to talk today about email marketing. So let me get ready to share my screen. I hope you guys have been enjoying the other few days and you're going for the full ride of the 7 days because these events are so awesome that people take their time and they're inspiring and they share their wealth of knowledge, and it's truly the best way to help you study. All right, so I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Morgan Wiedmann. I am a business consultant, marketing strategist for Cheshire Impact. I am Salesforce certified. I'm also a proud Salesforce marketing champion, and I'm a multimedia journalist. So I like to blog and share all things good about Salesforce and Pardot. So feel free to follow me on social media. Let's talk email marketing. That is today's topic, day 4. And over here, I wanted to start and kick off with that email exam guide and share what email marketing is only about 10%, guys. So as you can see, the description right here is apply email marketing standards and best practices to customer business needs. Very, very vague. Reading that's like, okay, that's great. Well, what does that mean? So that hence why we have this presentation today, so I can share with you guys a little bit more, because again, looking at this doesn't tell you too much about really what you should prepare and study for. So as you can see, with that 10%, it is one of the lower percentages of the exam outline being only 10%. I think it was one of the lower 3, but I don't want you to think that it takes away from the importance of that topic and the relevance to study, and just know it in general. The specialist exam I do want to call out as well is focusing more on that admin or that marketing role and their functionality of truly creating and sending out emails. So when you're studying, you kind of want to get in that mindset, not to think, how would you create an email? Where would you go to create an email? Where would you go to send an email? This is more, as the name says, consultant, is consulting clients on measuring, testing, reading, best practices, and then overall defining that success for emails. So helping you shift in the mind gear for that is really the best piece of advice that I can give. And towards the end, you'll see some tips and tricks that I share as well, but that I can give when you're really getting in that mindset of kind of, how do I study for this one versus the specialist? So over here, I just kind of wanted to break it down again, specialist versus consultant exam, to again help you, because I do agree it can be a little bit tricky to kind of study for how you would consult a client. It's really a best practice that you are going to be giving. And if you are a consultant, sure, you're doing it on the day-to-day. So I did want to break it down that over here, the specialist, again, is that technical side of more creating and sending the emails. And then consultant side is more of measuring the emails and those best practices of being with clients and working with them. Oop, and I just realized that I swapped those around. So look at me as that multimedia journalist. I apologize for that, guys. I will tweak that before I send that out to you guys. All right, email marketing topics. Today, we're going to dive into these 8 different topics. We'll start with engage emails. Then we'll go over to A/B testing, email metrics and reporting. Then we'll slide into engagement history dashboard. Starting to wrap up with consulting clients and best practices, the exam structure, some study guides that I recommend, and then lastly, tips and tricks. All right, let's kick it off with those engage emails. So for those of you who are unaware of what engage emails are, this is really that power of marketing and sales working together to boost your company's selling point and your selling powers. So the marketing side, Pardot, is they're publishing the email templates, and they're going to make them over here available for one-to-one emails, so that the Lightning sales side can send out the marketing approved templates to their leads and their contacts. So I threw a little snippet over here of that basic template information. So when you're coming in, you're picking your campaign, your email type, etc. Down here, when you're making this for the marketing side, you do want to just select that one-to-one email. That's going to give it that power that once it's published, marketing approved, your sales team has that power to send it out. I also added down here that it's available for all Pardot editions with Salesforce Engage, and it's available in Professional, Enterprise, Performance, Unlimited, and Developer editions. Let's talk more about Engage. Engage reports. This is where we're going to see the power behind them. It's going to let sales track their leads, contacts, metrics with the Engage campaigns. So not only are you setting your sales team up for empowerment to send out to their leads and contacts, but they're also going to be able to see the reporting and the metrics and understand, who's opening what, who's reading what. And that way, when they're having those more powerful conversations with their leads and their contacts, they're going to be more in depth and in tune to what they're aligned with and engaging with. You're going to want to use that reporting to help clients discover which emails and templates perform the best over time. Again, keeping in the mindset, it's not so much for the consultant on the specialist features, which is where would I go to create, where would I go to send this out? It's more just having those conversations, consulting for those best emails, best practices. There are some ways when you guys are looking at the reporting. I thought I shut these off. I am so sorry, guys. Let's see over here. Oh, geez. It's not moving. I don't know why. There we go. Let's move it over here. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So back to filtering for the reporting. You can filter to view it by all emails, templated emails, or even non-templated emails. So this way you can also filter with that drop down for the date range. So you can work with your clients to say, okay, we found that these templated emails for Q4 really performed the best. What can we pull out of trends of why they perform best so that setting up for Q1, we can implement that success as well. So over here, I just wanted to share for those who are looking, where do I access this report? It is going to be under the Engage Reports tab in Salesforce. And over here is just an example of where you can see some of these metrics. So here it is under the Engage Reports. You can see over here how many were delivered, how many were opened, how many were clicked, and get some insight so that when you're working with your clients, you're consulting them on these details, you have these results to share that data. Over here is another example as well. This is an example of a screenshot of Engage team reports and your Engage overview report, top performing templates that you can talk with, and then all team emails down here. As you can see, you can kind of toggle throughout so that you can own in and kind of look and measure and help your clients and truly consult them on best practices to help them understand what is a successful email. Moving along to A/B testing. This allows you guys to send two versions, version A and version B, of your email to a portion of the recipient list or lists. Email engagement data will determine the winning email to help your clients create successful emails. As you guys can probably already hear, trending, we're defining success for our clients in the emails. Again, specialist focuses on creating and sending. Consultant side focuses more on how are we determining what's successful? How do we set up with A/B testing, measurements that we can define success? So what I like to share, and this is what I consult with my clients currently, is to test one element at a time. For example, let's start with maybe testing that subject line. Version A, maybe we throw in a longer subject line, and then version B, it's exact same replica of this template. Only difference is we're going to shorten that subject line. We want to see how many opens we're getting with a longer subject line versus a shorter subject line. Another one that you could test, and again, this would be separate emails, so just thinking it's not going to be on the same one, because you do want to just test that one element at a time. If you go in and you make some crazy changes on A and they're not reflected on B, well, how can you measure that? How can you really talk that out with your client to determine that winner? The second one that I recommend are those CTAs, those call to actions. So version A, let's say we want to hyperlink behind a radio button, a really strong, big call to action. Click here, download, something along those lines. Versus version B could be hyperlinked a word in the body. Click here to register, something basic along those lines. Over here, when you guys are setting up that basic email information and consulting with your clients how to set A/B testing up, I am over under the list email send. You're just going to want to check the box off over here for A/B test, enable A/B testing. And down here, you'll see that's where a copy of B will be created. Over here, this is really where the testing happens. It's really the only difference of what it looks like besides creating a basic template or sending out a basic list email. You're going to want to consult with your clients on how long do you want to run the test before that winner is selected. Over here, as you can see, the minimum's 1 hour, but that maximum's 30 days. So when you're having these conversations with your clients, you almost kind of want to be interviewing them. How many people are on their recipient list? Is this for an email that has a date? Maybe they've waited a little bit to get that speaker. The event's in 5 days. Well, A/B testing probably isn't the best for that email. Or they're sending out a blast to 200 people. Maybe that's not that big of a recipient list where we're going to see the measurements and the success that we're looking for to help define which one was more successful. So that's where you'll want to have those conversations and you'll want to consult those best practices. Then we're going to want to talk about what criteria do we want to determine the winner. Where I had shared on the previous slide that you want to kind of just test one element at a time. If we're looking to test that subject line, we're going to want to determine the opens. We're going to want to see, did the shorter subject line or the longer subject line get more opens to those emails? If we're looking at clicks, that's going to be for those call to actions. So sure, they open the email, that's fantastic. But what we're really looking at is to see if they clicked on that hyperlinked radio button or clicked on that body in the contact, excuse me. And then we're going to want to consult with our clients on what percent of the audience do we want to use for testing? Do we want to test 25% of them? Do we want to test 15% of them? Again, this is where that consulting, that best practices comes into play. We want to see how many people are on that recipient list to get a better idea of how many people we should be testing for this. And then once they test, and that depending on, we have 2 days, we're listening for opens, that's when they'll determine the winner and it will go out to the rest of that 75%. We can, over time, of course, review together the engagement data metrics with our clients after running those A/B testing emails. So let's say we start running, that subject line, we got like 3 or 4 good emails, and we're coming to find that with the open rates that we're reading, that shorter subject lines are being opened more. Well, we can determine that for that industry, for that unique client, let's go forward with just always creating short subject lines. We tested it out with A/B testing. We could do the same as well with having those CTAs. That's going to help define those trends, to find out what is successful, to help those clients over time, help them understand those metrics, what they mean, and going forward, they can always just design their templates. Over here is snapshots of what you guys will see for those total mailable. How many are in the test audience? How many are in the winning audience? So you have some hard data to back up why you're recommending what. All right. Next topic, guys, is email metrics and reporting. So for new Pardot clients, they need to start off with an email deliverability of 90% or higher to warm their IP address. This is a big, big topic that I always break down during my implementation clients because they hear that and they're like, whoa, that's a high number. When I was in school, an 80% was great. That was a good test to bring home. But 90%, guys, for Pardot, they want to warm your IP address. No one wants to get marked as spam. So this is a great opportunity to have those conversations of how clean is your data? Let's start by sending out smaller emails opposed to blasting out an email to 5,000 prospects. We want to warm that deliverability to 90% or higher. Email stats, we're going to want to review as a whole. I like reviewing as a whole, kind of breaking down, what did our emails look like for this quarter, but then really owning in with my clients and looking at that individual email to help them understand how that performed versus how the others did, looking at it as a whole as well. There's lots of metrics to look at, and I'm going to pull up some examples in a few moments. But there are some key ones that I do recommend really highlighting and having your clients understand the most so that they know how to define success. There's also 3 places we can find these email KPIs: Pardot reports, engagement history, and B2B marketing analytics. So let's go over those ones that I did recommend that I think are really good examples of where we can share with our clients. Like, these are the top things that I think we should be looking at for our metrics. Delivery rate being one. That's that percentage of emails that were delivered compared to the total number that were bounced, including soft and hard bounced. You want to go over that HTML open rate. That's that percentage of unique HTML opens compared to the total number of emails delivered, sent minus the bounces. Total CTR, that's that click-through rate. That's that percent of visitors who click links contained in emails delivered minus bounces to them. In total, you want to be looking at those CTRs, the multiple clicks for the same link are counted. And then total versus unique. I know that this can be confusing because you'll see a lot of the times the total clicks are going to be a lot higher than the unique. Think of it as, and this is how I consult my clients, everyone's unique. Everyone's getting counted as one click for a unique click. And then here I am, super interested. I clicked the link 20 times. I'm waiting for my VP to sign off on it, and I want to attend this event. I would be counted for those 20 as my total clicks. So helping your clients understand, for the most part, they're going to see something that says HTML open rate and most likely be able to retain and understand that, but helping them understand and breaking down not just as that email whole of looking at, how they performed in Q1, but owning in on how each of them performed is going to help them see trends. Maybe they find that not having so much in the body of the email, they're getting higher open rates. Things like that is what you can discover, what you consult, and help share best practices. And again, this is the mindset that you're going to want to be in when you're studying and preparing for this exam. Moving on to some more definitions. Soft bounce. This is an email acknowledged by that recipient's mail server, but it's returned to the sender. Example is full inbox. They get 5 soft bounces, and then once they reach that, they're opted out of Pardot emails. Hard bounce, little different. It just takes 1 hard bounce for them to be opted out. That's permanently bounced back to the sender because that address is invalid. I was a customer before this, and when we got hard bounces, I want to say 95% of them were just due to someone moving on to another company. Something to help consult your clients with that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best place to find out who works where are they working now. People are really apt to update their LinkedIn fairly frequently when they move roles. So that's just a little tip and trick that I wanted to share that worked well for me as a customer. And now here I am consulting and sharing that with my clients. Opt-out rate. This is that percentage of users that have opted out compared to the total number of emails sent. So that's how that percentage is determined. Again, things that you want to be looking at with your clients to understand, well, why did the email back in November have a way higher opt-out rate versus the one that we just sent now in January? Let's look at what we did differently to try to see maybe going forward, we reflect on that January who had less of an opt-out rate, so we can see if that's something we can go forward with to define success in our emails. Over here is where you would work with finding those email metrics and reporting with your clients. As you can see, there's the report tab, the click-through rate report, interaction, and email clients. Just looks like there's only 4 tabs, but as you can imagine, and we're going to be looking at each of them in just some examples, there's a lot of power that you can share and a lot of data that you can share with your clients. Over here, the big one, again, new Pardot clients, right here is where you really want to focus with them, that 90% or higher. Here's your HTML open rate, and then the click to open ratio. Let's check out that CTR report. Lots of great data in here. I love how they have a chart over here. I think it's visually nice for the eye to kind of see and break down these numbers. Anything that is highlighted in blue is hyperlinked that you can click and get more details from. So again, sitting down with your client, sharing your screen right here, like as if this is a real life example, is great, and what you want to get in that mindset for what these questions are going to be like on the exam. Next one is that interaction, getting more through, the click-through rate report. This over here is going to give you those details on how your links are being measured, which ones are being clicked, so that when you are working with your clients, you can go down and say, this is usually the trend that I see, is there really stronger percentages up here at the top? And then towards the bottom, this one's not the best example. It looked like it was more strong down here. They're going to see that their numbers decrease. So this is where I consult best practices. And again, getting in that mindset of best practice sharing for this exam, of making those really strong CTAs at the top of the email, catching the engagement in the eyes right away. Interaction tab over here. This is that engagement, that activity. This is where you can share insight as well into the forwards, the skim rate, really going into all the details of interaction to help your clients understand more details. And lastly is that email client metric. Where are your clients using and reading these emails? It's helpful to see, it's helpful to know. I do know on that subject line, you do have the ability to throw in emojis. Well, we want to see, which versions are people looking at? Are they going to see those emojis? Or as you guys know, if you haven't upgraded the latest iOS, you get those little question mark eyes sometimes if one of your friends is texting you an emoji that you don't see yet. You don't want your customers or your prospects or your partners to get those for their subject line. So again, things that you can own in and check out and help consult best practices with your clients. Moving along, guys, to the engagement history dashboard. Little bit of prereqs, connected campaigns, Pardot Lightning app are needed to get these. You want to find email metrics. That's going to be on the engagement history metrics Lightning component. Mouthful, I know. It's going to show you that quick engagement within marketing assets associated to those connected campaigns. For the sake of today's training and what we're going over for this boot camp, we're going to focus on email. So other marketing assets will be on there, but we're going to dive in and talk about email. And like to share that permission set needed will be an analytics view only embed app. So when you're having these conversations with your clients and they're trying to understand maybe why they don't have insight into this, this is where you consult and this is where you can help them and share with them, well, we need to just set up these permission sets for you. All right, engagement history metrics Lightning component. Mouthful, I know, but there's a lot of power behind this. Again, you're going to see other stats over here, guys, for other marketing assets. For today's training, we're going to be going over email only. So right here is email open rate, email click-through rate, and then those total emails delivered. How great is this for them to be able to see this as one of those lightning components? You can toggle to include child campaigns. I think that it's great to toggle it and check it out with those child campaigns, but then ultimately those child campaigns are rolling up to a parent campaign. So again, consulting best practices that you're going to want to share, read these metrics and help clients understand. Engagement history and engagement metrics. Over here, these are fields on connected campaigns where you'll record or build a custom report to view metrics on a list view or for list emails. And then again, there's other marketing assets on there. That again is going to help you guys consult with clients on that email performance. Again, trend alert we've been pulling out today. Email performance, defining success, helping your clients read and understand is really what you want to be getting out of this today and understanding. The user permissions needed for engagement history metrics are either CRM user, Sales Cloud user, or Service Cloud user. Being a consultant, you can help your clients set up for success. You can share with them these permissions and help them get those set up so that they can view these metrics together with you and you can consult them on them. You're going to want to add engagement history to the contacts, the leads, accounts, and person account records to see what list emails, and again, keeping in mind other marketing assets, prospects are engaging with. Right here is just a little snippet of things that they will be able to see with this. Tracked, linked, clicked, that came from this email over here, and we saw that this person did it 20 minutes ago. So you can share, hey, when sales is on that phone call with this person, they can get this engagement information and these metrics from that successful email, that strong CTA that you sent out, because you can see that this person over here, lead, contact, whoever they are, did click it. Let's move along to engagement history data, focusing in on list emails. So list email engagement, this report will include any list emails that are sent from Pardot, also views Sales Cloud as well. So if you're looking for Pardot only, and again, this would be focused more for the exam, you're going to want to filter the report with the from address as Pardot marketing automation. That's going to give you that Pardot only. And again, the exam is focused on Pardot. Primary object is going to be that list email, guys. Your relationship is going to be a record that has at least one B record. You're going to want to use engagement history report on engagement history data. For your 3 sections, you're going to want to have list emails, campaigns, and parent campaigns. Again, mindset, these are all things that you can consult, best practices, set up for your clients so you can help them understand and define that success and performance. Did just want to call out those permission sets, sales, service, or CRM permission set, and create and customize reports and report builder. There's a lot of ands in there, but again, they're important things to know so that if your client is trying to look for something and they're like, well, why can't I build this report? I love this idea. Well, maybe we're missing some of these or all of these permission sets. Moving on to talking about consulting clients on emails. These are trends that we were pulling throughout all of those topics. I just wanted to summarize it again to help you guys get in that mindset, because I do agree studying for the specialist is more, what does this mean? What does that mean? Where do you find this? Where do you find that? Again, that technical. This is more, what would you do in a scenario? How would you help a client with this type of questions? So the biggest thing to remember again is it's all about consulting. The specialist creating, sending emails. You want to help your clients understand what makes that email successful. You're doing so through email metrics, email reporting, helping them understand not just the specific email, but also emails as a whole so that they can see patterns, they can see trends. They can do testing with A and B to define shorter subject lines, longer subject lines, what works best. Every client, remember, and you guys know this, is unique. So for some, you might find, hey, maybe the tech industry does really well with short subject lines, but maybe pharma They like the longer subject lines. That's what's opening more emails for them. So that's where you'll kind of want to work one-on-one, of course, with all of your clients to help them define what is a successful email for them and not so much what's a successful email for their overall industry or their overall segment. You want to focus and own in on them. With helping them read and understand those email metrics, you want to share with them and help them understand where to find those email metrics. So not only are you sharing and reading with them, but you're empowering them to find those metrics and share with their teams. Testing would be with A/B testing for those email campaigns, and then reporting on those metrics as well. I like to share the exam structure over here. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. You saw this on Trailhead, but just in case for those who haven't, I do like to share because it's nice to know what you're getting into before you just start taking a test and you're like, whoa. So there's 60 questions. They're multiple choice, but also multi-select. You have 105 minutes to complete the exam. Your passing score has to be a 68% or higher, of course. And the prereq again is that Salesforce Pardot specialist credential, excuse me. So you're going to want to take that first. And then I recommend that once you take that, shortly after, schedule your consultant. The studying that you did for that is a good chunk of what you'll be getting on that consultant. Just again, keeping the mindset shifting more towards consulting and best practices. With this one, the specialist throughout the exam provided some different examples of, client X does this or client B does that. The consultant seems, and I've talked with some other people who have taken it, to keep that same client example so you can really get in the mindset when you're taking this exam and kind of picture in your mind, all right, well, how would I give these best practices and pretend that client's yours? Again, they're theory and scenario-based questions. So they're not going to be so much like, where would you go to send an email? Again, that's more that specialist side. They're more going to be, if a client is to come to you with this problem, what's the best email? Or, and again, this is just throwing an example out there. How would you define success of this email with this client? Or how would you set up testing with a client to help them determine a successful email? Questions more like that, scenario theory based versus more, where do you send an email? All right. Exam audience description. I did just want to add this in there too. Generally, they have 12 months or more of hands-on experience implementing and administrating the Pardot Lightning app and Salesforce platform. Again, your best practice, guys, is going to be physically being in the platform or really consulting and doing that, because again, consulting, you can read blogs and get tips and tricks, but really physically having that one-on-one experience with clients is really great practice for you guys. The Salesforce certified Pardot consultant will possess facilitation and consultative skills, of course, to gather the business requirements, design solution alternatives, and implement them to meet business needs. So again, taking consultative, but also implementing them with your clients to set them up for success. Over here, guys, I have hyperlinked some study guides that I highly recommend. They're great to help you. Some are some practice exams, white papers, Pardot training certification, that Pardot knowledge base, of course, the Trailblazer community. Blog posts are great. Press releases are great. Trailheads are great as well. All great things to help you guys take your learning to that next level and take your studying as well. So these are hyperlinks. So when you guys get a copy of this, you will have these links for you available. And then always like to wrap up with some tips and tricks. So again, working in the platform, guys, is really the best way to study. Flashcards are great. These resources over here are wonderful and phenomenal, don't get me wrong. But having that practice and being in there doing the day-to-day is really the best study, as well as that practical work, consulting your clients, thinking about, what conversations are you having? If you're someone that's studying and you're not in a consultant role, then really maybe, meeting with someone in the Trailblazer community asking them, you know, can you share some examples of conversations you're having with clients? I know I shared a bunch in here with you guys of conversations I'm having, but again, no two clients are alike. They're all unique. So reaching out and just taking 10 minutes to talk to someone in the Trailblazer community, which everyone is super great. And I'm sure you guys will get tons of hands raised if you throw that out there and ask, then you can get some more information and help you guys study that practical work for this exam. Again, I recommend registering to take that consultant exam shortly after the specialist, because a majority of your studying is going to relate over to that. It's just more going to be that next level of how would you consult these? So you've learned it for the specialist, but now how would you deploy that and share best practices? You can skip questions, guys. So if you're reading a question, you're looking at the exam, for those who haven't taken an exam just yet, you can skip, but just make sure to go back. When I took mine, the last one I took was in December. I don't really remember it saying, you know, you missed these, check them out. So I had to kind of go in there and be proactive and answer them. But sometimes you guys know you get that question and you're like, ooh, what is that answer? Let's go back to it. So you can do that. You can skip them. I recommend as well trying and eliminating 2 of the answers to help narrow it down. Now with the consultant, being those theory, scenario based, it might be a little tricky because you might look at some of them and you might be like, wow, all of these sound good. All of them work. So if you try to do process of elimination and narrow it down to what you think could potentially be the top 2, you'll help yourself kind of play out in your mind and think, hey, which one would be better to consult my clients on for success? I recommend registering for this exam in advance. It's very easy to say, all right, I'm going to take this February 1st, going to take it. And then here comes, you know, I've got some extra projects, don't have enough time, didn't have time to study. And then you're like, let's do it to March 1st. And then you're pushing it up. Here comes April 1st. So if you have that, guys, registered on your calendar, on the books, you actually have that goal and you're like, you know what, it's here, it's happening. I'm taking this exam. I have to put the time in to study. Attending events like this, guys, is really fantastic. You're getting to know the community. You're finding out people who to reach out to, again, for that example of people who really maybe aren't consulting right now. You're seeing some people that have been attending these 7-day boot camps, connect with people on social media, ask them for some advice. That's really going to be helping for you for studying. Any questions? That wraps up email marketing for me. I do know I see that some looks like they were coming through. So right now is an opportunity, guys, to kind of ask away. Anything to do with email marketing and the consultant exam.
Bomb, bomb. That was pretty much informative. And a lot of tips and tricks, not only, practices or the tips of email marketing, a lot of tips and tricks for the Pardot trailblazers. So we'll just take a few questions over here. I'm just randomly taking a few questions, and if I miss on any of the questions, please feel free to put them in the Slack channel group, and yeah, anybody would be happy to take them. So Morgan, this goes to you. Since dynamic content block doesn't shows up in the email click-through interaction report, what's the other possible option to report on dynamic content used in list emails and bring them in click-through interaction report?
The interaction report. So let's pull that example, guys, up so we can check that out over here. Interaction was right here. So yes, as you guys can see, you're not going to get that metric over there for any dynamic content that might be pulling through. So going specifically to that dynamic content, guys, might be a way for you guys to kind of see, hey, how did this perform versus that perform? And throwing that in. If you are hyperlinking any custom redirects potentially as well, going to those and really owning in and kind of seeing, how many were unique clicks, how many were total clicks, and then how many were prospects down there that were known to us. That's a way that you can kind of pull in those metrics and look at it. So you might be going in another browser, but you can compile them all together and have that story and share with your client, excuse me.
Okay, awesome. You all can hear me well, right?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. So I'll just pick up two more questions. Like, what is the recommendation to have shorter subject T line for emails sent using any MarkTech application?
So I personally am a fan of shorter subject lines, but again, guys, every client is unique. Every client's different. Every industry is different. So for me, shorter is short and sweet. It's to the point. You're going to see little information on there. Using, and this is a tip too, guys, is using that little preview header that you can put, the pre-header, excuse me, inside the template where you can see a little like subject line teaser in addition of what that email is about is a good best practice. Keep the subject line short, but then have that pre-header teaser so that they can get more insight. So that way you're not having a longer subject line. Think about what your own inbox looks like. Sometimes longer subject lines get cut off. You're not even seeing everything that it is about. Other times, again, it's a lot of information. Someone wants to read really quickly. I was on a podcast about a year ago, and I talked about how the average attention span is 8 seconds, which is crazy short. So if you're not catching someone really quickly within those 8 seconds on that short subject line, that is usually the data that we're finding that shorter subject lines do work better. Use that pre-header to throw more details that you would have put in that longer subject line in.
Anyways, short and crisp is the perfect phrase
Sure,
for the
sweet,
subject
you
line.
got it.
Yeah. So I have another question which says, what is the ideal sample size for consideration for A/B testing?
Great question. That is great. So again, I shared that, you might have someone that's 200. Well, really, what testing are you going to get out of it? Let's go back to a visual, guys, because I personally like pictures myself, and I'm sure you guys do too. So let's go. Where was that? A/B testing. Here we go. So this over here is where you're going to say, what percentage of your audience do you want for testing? Of course, you're not going to test that 80% because then only the winner is going to go out to 20%. Little tip and trick too, guys, that with version A and version B, if for some reason, maybe 2 days should be enough time, but maybe you set it up to be 3 hours and it was a day that a lot of the people on that list are in meetings, or it's a holiday for some of the people that you're sending it out to. So you're not getting data. Version A is always going to be that winner. So best practice and something I consult with my clients is, in your mind, that shorter subject line probably is going to be that winner. That really strong CTA with that radio button, probably going to be the winner. Again, I've worked with clients, that's what I see as winners, but someone starting out, they might not know that. That's where you can consult and help them. You want to design A as what you think is going to be that winner, because again, in an instance where no information came in, A is always going to be the winner. So I like to share that. But for me, sending it out to 200, testing 25% of them is a little bit shorter. So I would say, 500 plus is a good metric that you'll be able to get. Because if you're looking at about 25% of an email that's sending out to 200 people, sure, you're going to get data, don't get me wrong, but are you going to get a larger amount of data? So I would say 500 plus.
Awesome. I think that's brief about the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just quickly go to the next, which says, please share some best practices about the Pardot campaign.
Pardot campaign, sure. So for connected campaigns, that's what you guys will want to kind of have set up. So then that way you're getting, let's see, I do know I have an email on this. A slide deck. Emails on the mind. Let's see where this, over here. With connected campaigns, guys, this is where this information is going to come through. So when you're setting up your basic information. You guys know that it's required to always select a campaign. That is going to be the first touch point campaign. That's where connected campaigns is going to come through. Of course, you'll want to make sure your client has that set up. They'll start by, if the campaign's not created, creating it over in the campaigns tab, which is technically the lightning tab, and then pulling it through for the marketing assets, email for an example. Again, that first campaign is going to be the first touch point. Then on your completion action, you're going to want to add to CRM campaign. That's going to be that multi-touch attribution. You can associate a campaign member status as well. Again, those are just for Pardot prospects that are synced over to Salesforce. I know we're kind of getting into a little bit more, but just sharing with you guys all the knowledge I can really quickly. So that's where this information is going to pull through. So you're starting and you're creating the campaign over on the Salesforce Lightning interface, but it's really pulling through for your marketing assets in Pardot. So you're feeding the information, hence connected campaigns.
Awesome. What else will make the Pardot campaigns better if we follow all these best practices? Yeah. So we'll just take the last question for the day, which says examples of email metrics on a campaign record and on lead or a contact record. If you can share
Sure.
any
So
examples.
I think I have, let's see. That would be over here. So over here, this is more for Engage that you're going to be seeing metrics. Again, if you have Salesforce Engage, these are an example of what those metrics would look like. For other metrics coming through that you guys would want to see, that's this little snippet. Where is she? Let's see. Over here, this is an example right here of where you could see, well, the tracked link was clicked. And over here, because I didn't want to share the other marketing assets, there was kind of like a little rectangle over here that shared like forms that were clicked, landing pages that were clicked, custom redirects that were clicked. I didn't want to take the focus off of emails. So this right here is an example of where you can kind of see those snippets. And then again, on the one that we were just on over here, you can get that email open rate information as well. So this one is more going to be over on that leader, that contact record, where you're going to see kind of a little series. And I usually like to throw it on that right-hand side of the leader contact record. You're going to see a little series of that engagement, kind of like what you see on that Pardot profile, and you're seeing their Pardot activities. This right here is going to be a little timeline of that for you.
It's awesome. Since we have a little more time, we'll take one more question which just came. Follow-up questions on the A/B testing. It says, what is the minimum time frame you recommend for A/B testing?
Great question, guys. So over here, as you can see, these are best practices that are in the template itself when you're figuring it out for minimum 1 hour, maximum 30 days. So it depends. Again, if it is something that is time sensitive, it's a webinar that has a date to it, and you have time to promote it, sure, let's throw A/B testing in there. I think that's great. But again, you were scrambling to get a speaker, your event's in 5 days. You don't want to really run an A/B test. You want to just send that out as a list email, maybe get that for an Engage template if you have Engage for your sales team to send out on their side as well. I like to give 2 or 3 days. That gives people some time. Think about the emails that you guys get and that customer experience that you guys have. How often are you opening a marketing email that's coming your way? Sure, if it's one and it's an event you're waiting for, and you know, it's a Trailblazer community event that you're like waiting to register and sign up for, you're going to open that email sooner. But if it's one that, you know, you have clients you're consulting, you're focusing and your priority is them, you'll get to that marketing email tomorrow, you leave it marked as unread. That's where I like to give a little bit of time. So I like that 2 to 3 day mark. Again, it's got to be for an email that you have the time to run that testing for. You want to pull in that data. I also like 25% for testing for that audience. And again, I like starting with clients and suggesting the opens as the best way to start it. It's easy to start it as well. I don't want to go too crazy of, hey, go create this radio button and things like that. That I like to do as, A/B testing start step 2 for a completely different template. Let's remember, guys, because you don't want to be testing both of those. As you can see over here, and this is a screenshot, you wouldn't be able to click both. So you're only going to be testing one or the other. So suggest starting with opening, testing subject lines, keeping them short, keeping them longer, or maybe throwing in like your exclusive invite or last chance to register. Like certain words like that also can be things that you can test. And then starting off with 2 days. See how 2 days gets, starting off with 25%, having your recipient list be 500 plus. Those are my best practices.
Awesome. That's something really, we need to keep in.
Oh, I think we lost you a little.
Yeah, I think we just lost Isha, so I think she'll be right back.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Morgan, do you have any last tips for our team?
Anya.
I do not. So that's email marketing, guys. Again, it's 10% of the exam. It's very vague, as you guys saw, as one of those first few slides of what it's looking for you to study. So having these study guides, you guys will have access to this training resource as well. And again, reach out to people. If you're not a consultant, or even if you are a consultant, I talk with people before I take exams, and I am in a consultant role as well. So it's just helpful to get, because I don't think every 2 exams are alike either. I think that they switch up the questions as well. Because when I've talked to people about what their experience was taking an exam versus mine, I'm like, I don't remember having that question. So they're not all too alike. So reach out. Attend Trailblazer community events like this. I can't stress that enough. There's so great resources, all these resources over here, and best of luck, guys. I think if you take that time, you go on the platform, you reach out to people in the community, if you are consulting or not, it's really the best way to help you study and succeed together.
Thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope there's no last questions. If you guys have any questions, you can post it in the Slack channel. The links are in the chat box. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you,
for
everyone,
joining.
for your time, and best of luck taking your certifications, whether it's a consultant or any others. And have fun with the rest of the few days for the boot camp. Thanks again, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.